Hello, everyone, and welcome to First Impression Sports Talk. I am the host, Jasmine Pollock. We're going to get into a lot of things today, so let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jazz's First Impression Sports Talk. And to kick the day off, we're going to talk about those Cincinnati Bengals. So yesterday, the Cincinnati Bengals traveled to Tampa Bay to face those Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers were looking to bounce back from that 35-7 loss against the 49ers last week, and the Bengals were coming off a win. Now, there was a lot of speculation where was the Bucs going to win this game in the first place, and obviously they did not. However, they started the game really good. Brady played very well, like Brady plays all the time, but this year has not been his year. They were up 17-3 at half, and then the Bengals go on a 31-0 run in the second half and end up beating the Bucs towards the end. So let's bring in Jeremiah. Jeremiah, let's talk about the Bengals. Now, these Bengals are hot. They're clicking at the same time the way they did last year. So what is your take on the Bengals? They do play the Bills next week. So the biggest question, can the Bengals bring that same energy with the Bills?
Well, when it comes to them versus the Bill, I think the two matchups right there is going to equal who is the strongest team, especially when it comes to the playoffs, because you got to think when it comes to the playoffs, you're gonna either team that will get the number one spot can be in cold weather, and that's just the significance of it. And for Cincinnati and Buffalo going against each other, I think it's going to be such a great game. The Cincinnati Bengals, they are creeping up, especially at a perfect time, just like you said. With Burrow hitting at a good max right now, everything clicking at the same time. Plus, their line is holding up a little bit more to where Burrow, he doesn't always have to just come out of the pocket and run all the time, but he's using his assets to where he has it. Now, for the Buffalo Bills, I do worry about them going down the line when it comes to not having a certain run game. That does worry me at certain times because you're going to need that when it comes to playoff time. Because I know you have Josh Allen. He can do great things. He's a great quarterback. But the times that, you're shut down at that department, who are you going to rely on at the end of the day? So you need those
Josh Allen's legs.
Right. And I think that when it comes to this game, it's going to show who is just ahead of the other team, because the Cincinnati Bengals, they had a struggles at the beginning of the season, but they're right where they need to be, especially going against these good teams, just beating the Bucs and then, just beating the Chiefs the week before that. They are ready in their focus.
And another thing too with that, the Bengals defense is the best in the AFC. They have the best defense in the AFC. They're very stout against the run. They're very stout against the pass, because let's talk about this. Last week, they played the Titans. Derrick Henry leads the league in rushing, as he's the leading rusher right now. They held him to 53 yards, the Bengals defense. And they haven't allowed a long pass, and I believe since week 3, if I'm not mistaken. So this defense is starting to crank up. And that was the biggest problem last year for them is, okay, their defense made some good plays last year, but now they're becoming more consistent. Like you said, their O-line is playing very well than what they did last year, and of course they're getting healthier. You still have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside. Joe Burrow's still back there. Mixon is back there. P. Ryan's back there in the backfield. They have a good team to work with. Now let's read some of the numbers that Joe Burrow had yesterday against the Buccaneers. 4 touchdowns, 200 yards passing, 27 of 39, but he had 1 interception, and that was due to a tip ball. You know how that works.
Yeah, that's
going to ends up getting it. Right. When I look at this Bengals team, they could be very much so in the talk for home field advantage. They can be. And they didn't they beat the Chiefs?
Yes, they beat the Chiefs. And the Chiefs looked shaky last game.
Right. And if they can beat the Bills at home, the Bengals will get the number 1 seed. That's very plausible. And when I look at Buffalo, Tua had an exceptional game against them Saturday. And we're going to get into that game later on in the show. But that was a phenomenal game between the Bills and the Dolphins. It's always good. But when I look at the Bengals are a tad bit just a tad bit better and defensively than the Dolphins right now. And
Yes.
I feel they're gonna give Josh Allen some problems. In order to stop a high flying offense like the Bengals, you have to know how to run the ball very effectively, and that's something the Bills lack. But Jeremiah, to you, when we look at the Bengals, we look at the Bengals. What do you see any weakness in them? Do you see them? Can they be like that number one threat in the AFC? Are they the best team in the AFC? When we look at the Chiefs, we look at the Dolphins, we look at the Bills, we look at the Chargers, my sleeper team, they're starting to get hot. When we look at all these AFC teams that's starting to crank up, are the Bengals the best AFC team right now? They're the most complete.
I think when it comes to the Bengals, they have the potential to be the best team in the NFL. The only reason I would just say their small weaknesses is just having those slow starts. I do worry about them because I know a lot of times they try to come back so many times, especially in these games. You've seen it happen when they was just playing against the Bucks. They was down 17-0. It took a great comeback for them to, just do that whole third quarter and that fourth quarter, like outscoring the Bucks by just shredding their defense. But when it gets to playoff times, you cannot risk those type of things. Those things are very crucial.
I believe that's where the Bengals thrive, because even last year, no one expected them to go to the Super Bowl. No one expected that. So
you have a good point there. Yeah.
This might be the team. They might play better from coming from behind. Now, that's not always good heading into the playoffs. Like you said, I agree with that 100%, because you're going to have teams that can, Ravens team to beat when they are healthy. I can agree with that.
I agree with that.
The Ravens are still in the conversation. No doubt about that.
They just got to hold on.
Back healthy. But when I look at the Bengals, I feel like they do strive or thrive in that environment of coming behind and being that underdog. They thrive in that. Even last year when they went all the way to the Super Bowl that no one expected them to go to. So the Bengals are getting hot, and not to mention they've been there before. They have the taste what it's like winning, going to that Super Bowl and having that experience. Now, okay, we can have a team to go beat. And here's the thing, the AFC is wide open. Every team in the AFC has question marks. But if the Bengals continue to play like this and their defense is getting better, they're causing turnovers the way they did against the Bucks yesterday, 4 straight turnovers, and they could protect Joe Burrow, they could be the best team in the AFC currently right now. I
totally agree.
Yes. So let's get into the next segment, which is the World Cup. Now, we all know the World Cup only happens every 4 years, so it's always a pleasure of having it and watching it. The Argentinians win. Lionel Messi finally gets his World Cup. Now, I saw a post yesterday saying, is Lionel Messi the best male athlete of all time? Jeremiah, what do you think about that? Of all time athlete, I mean, from LeBron, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, I mean, everywhere, Deion Sanders, best athlete.
I think he can be on the list, but call him the best in the world, I would not say so, because every sport is very different and each work ethic is on a different level than others. I can't say when it comes to a Michael Jordan, of course he won those 6 championships and everything else, but his body shape and everything else is just different from how it is for a football player rather than what it is for a soccer player to go out there and score many goals and just play on that field. And you looking at the World Cup right here, you have these guys, your body has to be very set for them. People don't understand how your body has to be so set to play on that big open field, and you're playing for a long period of time. And getting the ball inside the goal is just a certain technique. And to me, that is one of the most hardest sports to even play, because you're just doing it straight with your feet, and it's just all about technique at the end of the day. And
not Messi, to mention having the endurance, like especially playing. Well, let's get it. It's actually football. It's not soccer.
Football.
So let's call it that. I don't want to get canceled for that. But when we look at football, we look at the World Cup. Those guys are going back and forth running, literally running. I mean, it's like you have to have the endurance. You have to have that muscle strength. Oh, Pelé is the best ever. Messi lags and doesn't play hard and opportunist. Not saying he isn't good. Well, that's interesting because there's a lot of conversation. I even read, a lot of people, some think Ronaldo's the best.
I think when
Some
it
think
comes to the
Ronaldo said
Messi,
that.
though,
I mean,
when it comes to Messi, he is, I believe for him, he's a time management person. He's not the
agreed.
type to play the hardest throughout the whole game, but he turns it on when it's the right time. I
Yes.
don't think he kind of has that. He kind of has that what the certain thing that LeBron does, like when he kind of be assisting
Gotcha.
and then goes into like his own thing, especially when it gets to the crunch time. But for
Right.
other players, like maybe like with Ronaldo and stuff, like it's just high energy throughout the game. Like he doesn't have like a stop. Like he's just boom, 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 going. Which is Messi. He's more thinking of like a longer landscape and then kind of
Mike
maneuvering.
says Ronaldo's the best. Hey, well, I mean, what I enjoy about these conversations is you can pick and choose. Now, there is a young lion up and coming, and his name is Kylian Mbappe, who is for France. That kid is 23 years old. Oh, LeBron, does he play soccer? He is about. We're gonna talk about LeBron another time, but another player that we need to watch out for that could be in this conversation very soon is Kylian Mbappe. That kid is only 23 years old. He leads France to their back-to-back World Cup appearance. They won the first time, but this time the Argentinians get the best of them. But what do we have to say for Mbappe? 23 years of age, already in that conversation, already has the stats and accomplishments. What do you have to say about him?
You can't, like, when it comes to Mbappe, like, he came in clutch for France to just even give them a chance.
He scored twice in 2 minutes.
Twice in 2 minutes.
In soccer. Come on, y'all.
You have him scoring, then you had the penalty kicks. Like, he came in there and he stepped to line and he was just very clutch. Now, the other times with his other teammates, you're going to have that. But when it came to him, he was just relaxed on that line, and you could just see he's just ready for that moment. And you know that this new school, he's gonna be around for a while. Getting his first, this is nothing to him right now. Just this loss and everything else, of course, is big for Messi. He's been doing this for a long time, and he's finally got himself one. But for the other one, he has so many years to get at least twice as much more and just experience off of this.
I'm gonna definitely be paying attention to him. He's a really exciting player. I love his energy. He has ice water in his veins. I mean, him, his team being down 2-0 in the biggest game, one of the biggest games in the world, and for you to come out like that with 2 goals solely you in 2 minutes and put your team back there, that was exceptional. Now I get the other his other playmakers, his other teammates, they have to make better decisions with that. I understand that. But it was exceptional what he did. So shout out to Mbappe. I'm gonna be watching him for a while now. But when we look at football, I'm really excited for now the USA. We got to get it together. I mean, we're not even touching these other teams at all. It's just I don't know what these other teams are doing. I don't know what our team is doing. I don't know. I mean, it's just it's very questionable what's going on in the USA when it comes to soccer. So we'll definitely see. We have to go root for somebody elsewhere because every time the USA is in it, it's always bad.
You know that they're in the next, 4 years? The next one, next World Cup is going to be here in America.
Woo! Hopefully, we are there. We will be there. Remy, me, you, everyone. We're going to be there. And yes, Mbappe is from Cameroon, so that's really exciting. He's only 23 years old, you guys. 23, and he's already had his second World Cup appearance. That's insane. At 23 years old. That wraps up this segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about those Buccaneers and what's going to happen with their future. And then we're going to get into some more NFL talk. So we're going to be back with a short break.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep. Off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you the Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impressions Sports Talk. Be sure to join Jasmine every week for great conversation on the NBA, NFL, and a wide variety of sports topics. To see past episodes of First Impressions Sports Talk, go to YouTube and search First Impressions Sports Talk. You can connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. And now, back to more First Impressions Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impressions Sports Talk. And the voices you just heard were from Kelly Johnson and Dion Hunter. If you like voiceover work done for your projects, you can go to leonthomasgroup.com and get in contact with Leon to get voiceover work done. If you'd like to be a guest on my show and see past episodes of my show, you go to my website at jasmineonsports.com. So let's get into the next half. We're going to talk about those Buccaneers. Now, my dad's a Buccaneers fan. I'm going to talk about it. We're going to have this conversation. It's very painful, but for him, not for me, but for him. So when we look at the Buccaneers as a whole, they're 6-8. 6-8. This is the first time, Jeremiah, in Tom Brady's career that he's lost 8 games in a season. Okay. When we look at the Bucs, there was speculation heading into from the offseason that Brady would retire. You know, who's going to be the head coach, and then Todd Bowles becomes the head coach because Bruce Arians decided to take a position in the front office. Byron Leftwich is still the offensive coordinator, and Todd Bowles is still the defensive coordinator while being the head coach. But Jeremiah, what is the future going to look like in Tampa Bay? Because there's so many questions. Now, they can still make the playoffs, guys, surprisingly, because the NFC South is that bad. So the Bucs is leading the divisions. Their record is 6-8. Then it's the Panthers, 5-9. Then it's the Falcons, 5-9. Saints, 5-9. So the whole division is bad, but the Bucs can still win that division and get into the playoffs. But Jeremiah, what does the future look like for the Bucs? Will Brady retire? What's going to happen?
Well, when it comes to the Bucs, I think that this team is going to get broken up after this season. It's so hard to just see them try to be like, okay, let's run this back or let's get some new players. I think when it comes to this season, Tom Brady is all the way checked out. He is on his last year already. And I know Tom Brady, he's looking towards the future right now. He's trying to think, okay, should I get to one more place and then try to retire? Do what I can do and get out of there, because San Francisco, the door is like about to open for him. Like once he finishes out this season, you know,
Who knows?
Because those things could happen. But I don't see him, of course, retiring after this season, because to me, Brady, he just doesn't end on a bad note. He's not trying to end on a bad note for him.
But think about this. Another thing, when we look at the 49ers now, when Brady was in talks of leaving the Patriots in the first place a couple years ago, we were wondering, is the 49ers an option? Because he is from San Francisco. He grew up a 49ers fan because he's a huge Joe Montana fan. That's his inspiration. But when we look at the 49ers didn't want him. They didn't want him. So, I mean, they have, look, the 49ers, do they feel like, hey, we can win without him? We can make our own legacy. We don't want Brady here. Now, it would be very huge for him to go back home. You know, if you notice, every GOAT, every great we've seen, like whether it's from Jordan to LeBron to, you know, different guys, even Brady, they went back home. They went back home to where they play, where it all started for them, whether it's close to home or there. Look at what LeBron did. He started out with Cleveland. You know, he's born and raised in Cleveland. He's a Cleveland guy. He went to Miami for a couple years, won a couple of championships, went back and won a championship, and then went to LA. Well, we see Brady do that same route. Same thing with Jordan. Jordan played with the Bulls, went to Washington. You know, are we going to see that from Brady? But the 49ers seem like they're not interested.
Yeah, because I mean, they're rolling right now.
So,
the only thing, I just don't see Brady coming back next year for the Buccaneers. That's the only thing I can't see.
The question is, where would he go?
That is my point, just right then and there, because what place suits Brady already to where they already have the weapons and all the other shine, because the door for Miami, that already closed. The thing for the 49ers, they're thriving right now, but they have this rookie quarterback. I mean, you can't really know what you're expecting until the playoff time and see if they maybe need another quarterback, or did they find the one for the future for them. And what for about Tom Brady,
we could think about Tennessee. I mean, if we look at Tennessee, they have weapons. You have Derrick Henry. You have receivers, young receivers out there. You got a good old line. You have a solid defense. It's just quarterback. And that was one of the destinations. I remember vividly, one of the destinations was the Tennessee Titans before. So it was 49ers, Tennessee, or the Bucks. Now, I didn't even consider the Bucks at first. I was like, man, he should go to the 49ers. That's where he's from. But he ended up going to Tampa, and I was like, dang, and guess what happened?
I mean, could you see him going to a big market also, like the Saints as well?
Does he want to go to the Saints, though? Because him and the Saints have bad blood anyway. So, I mean, if I'm him, I'm not going to the Saints, because his record against the Saints in his career is not good. I'm not going to that place. Nothing to do with the Saints. You know
that is so true.
Is Todd, and that's the next question. Is Todd Bowles in trouble? Yes, he is.
I think so too, because this whole season, they have been losing leads after leads, and he's just getting out coached each and every game. He is a defensive coach, but you can tell this season he was not ready to get no head coaching job.
No.
And the head coach for the Bucks stepped down last season and went to the front
Bruce
office.
Arians, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And right now, the organization right now, it just seems very shaky, not to mention everything that's going on with the defense. Brady is frustrated each and every game, and you could just tell he is checked out all the way. So it's like, for next season, you can go in the draft, but you're going to need certain veterans and a certain big, because you got Mike Evans, and also other assets, but it's just not going to be fitting in that 1 year, of that Super Bowl. That's just it.
Yeah, and another thing too, another issue I feel when we look, let's start with the Bucks offense. Okay, you have Tom Brady. They're last in the league in rushing. That's problem number one when you have an older quarterback and you can't run the ball effectively. Brady's not used to that. Even when Brady was in New England, Brady had a bunch of running backs that was able to pass, catch, run out. He could pass the ball. Different, like you had
he doesn't have Gronk anymore.
Remember him, guys like that can run the ball, pass, catch, different things like that. Then the Bucks don't have a legitimate, solid, consistent tight end the way Brady had Gronk for years. They don't have that person in the middle. When we look at the outside, now Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Russell Gage, guys like that are phenomenal, and Scotty Miller, but they don't have a true deep threat. You could say Scotty Miller, but Scotty Miller is small. Scotty Miller, there's a lot of guys that just jam him up at the line now. He might catch a pass here and there, but it's about the consistency. He's not as big. And I'll say this. Now, I'm not advocating for Antonio Brown, but when they had Antonio Brown, they had somebody that you can move around in different places. You can put Antonio Brown in the slot, he does damage. You can put him on the outside, he does damage. They don't have that true wide-out receiver that can go down the field and give you those deep routes and give you short routes and do things like that, the way you see the Dolphins have, or where you see the Chiefs have and the Bengals. They don't have that. And I feel like that's the problem, because a lot of teams now, Mike Evans is good, Godwin's good, but that deep threat, they don't have that. And I feel like Brady is missing that. So everybody's just, we don't trust their run game, so we're just gonna sit back. That's what they're gonna do. So they don't have anybody that's that middle threat. They don't have a deep. They don't have anything. They don't have a rushing attack. So what is the Bucks? What are the Bucks good at this year? What are they good at? Defensively,
Oh my God.
injuries,
Blown coverages.
blown coverages. It's the same people. And no, I don't. And Jeremiah and Todd Bowles wasn't ready for a head coaching job. I would have rather them have Leftwich as the head coach and kept Todd Bowles as the defensive coordinator. Because if we look at it, Todd Bowles used to be the coach for the Jets. That didn't end up well.
Work out.
But that goes to the same conversation with black coaches. Like, it's unfortunate because I want to see our black coaches win. I want to see us get opportunities. But it's just, I feel like for Todd Bowles, I don't see enough. Like, when I see a coach, right, I don't see a coach like talking to his guys enough. I see him he just stands there. He's not like, even my dad gets so irritated. He's like, look, the guy just got ran past, or this just happened. I don't see you
show
like
some emotions, you know, show
right.
some emotions, and
no
you're
emotion.
sitting there
and
just going by the system. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, where is your mind at? What are we doing? You know, and Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, he's awesome. Like, if he stays at that defensive coordinator position, I think he'll do great. But when we look at head coach, that means you're overseeing everything. That means you're calling, okay, yes, let's do this, or no, we're not doing that. And it's a bad situation. So the Bucs are in a bind right now because you don't know what they're gonna do. We don't even know where Brady's going. We don't know what Brady's gonna do. It all falls on Brady, because the question is, when is it going to be that time for him to retire? When is Brady going to say, okay, this is enough, I'm done, I'm out of here? But knowing Brady, for, seeing him play for the past 10, 15, 20 years, the man does not like to lose. The man loves football. Loves football. He studies the game every single day, every single year, every offseason. He's there focusing on the game. It's going to be hard for me to believe that he is going to retire, unfortunately, because I don't want to end my career like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
especially on this note.
But this is what I told my dad. If I was Brady, after they won that Super Bowl in Tampa, you should have retired then. You can't say anything after that. That would have been like, okay, I'm only here for 1 year.
Exactly.
That's what I would have did.
But I also think because of that plan of not getting to Miami, how that really unfolded, it messed up to where he had to stay stationary this year.
Yep.
Because he already knew it was going to be a change in that coaching staff. And we already said it last year. They are not going to be able to pay everybody. And look now, they lost a lot of different people.
Right.
And a lot of different
we'll
pieces.
definitely see what's going to happen with the Bucs. There's just a lot of questions going into the offseason. There's going to be a lot of questions about just how the season's going to end. We don't know. So let's get into the final topic, which is just recapping all of, before we go, I agree. Why wasn't Leftwich promoted? Right. He's a much better coach. And I agree. I was assuming they were going to appoint Leftwich that head coaching job, not Todd Bowles. But I think because Todd Bowles, I don't know. I would have rather Leftwich. He's the offensive-minded guy anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But let's get into the recap. So there was a lot of craziness that happened on Saturday and yesterday. Let's bring up those slides. Let's start with Saturday's games first. So, no, wrong one. This one, yeah. So we're going to start with the Vikings. This game right here. This game was insane. Now, audience, I want you to listen to me. This game, Remy knows about this. Jeremiah, you know about this. You literally watched this game at my aunt's house. The Colts were up 36-0 in the third quarter. How is the score like this? I mean, I just don't understand. It was so bad that this is the biggest deficit comeback in NFL history. How did the Colts, 36-0 in the third quarter, let the Vikings come back and beat them in overtime?
That is, to me, unacceptable. You can say so much about the players.
Somebody needs to be fired.
You can say so much about the players, but Saturday, this one is on you as well.
Yes.
This should not have happened from the jump. What you should have done throughout that game, once you are up 36-0, I remember when Miami was playing the Texans, they was up the same amount of times. All you have to do is keep running clock, run the ball.
Yep.
Run the ball and do what you was doing that last quarter. Don't try
Right.
to get cute. Do not try to do trick plays because you're up. For the Colts, you guys have not been on the winning side this year, so don't be trying to get too cute. You're just trying to beat your opponent. You're trying to win these games. Not about the stats at the end of the day. Because
Agreed.
nobody expected you guys to be that up. And with you guys losing the game, you guys are proving them right. And that's just embarrassing on their part, and especially
And
Matt Ryan.
before we go to the next slide, just a quick pointer to everyone. The quarterback for the Colts is Matt Ryan. The last time this happened was in the Super Bowl when they were up 28-3 against the Patriots, and they came back. So Matt Ryan, this is a little questionable, man, because this is 2 times on your watch you have a big lead, and you let the team come back. But let's go to the next slide. So this is going to be the I believe the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. And I know Mike, and he's a Baltimore fan. I was annoyed with this game. I thought this game was very ugly. You could tell by the score. It was a very low scoring game. Not much offense going on and different things like that. A lot of poor play calling. But man, I wanted Baltimore to win this game. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Yeah, because when it came to this game, I just felt, of course, the Baltimore, their defense wasn't as bad today because they did as much as they can to hold
Right.
off when it came to the Browns defense, because you know about the Browns running game. It is a lethal. They go down your throat with Hunt and also the rest of their team. And with Watson coming back, they executed in a great way, especially in that game. Mm-hmm. And for the Baltimore, they are missing Lamar. They are missing Lamar like crazy because they're missing his legs, but also when it comes to just his presence. When they have this new quarterback, they're like, okay, he can run, but he's not no Lamar Jackson. You get what I'm saying? Lamar brings a certain presence when he's on that field to make everybody change up their game plan.
Agreed. And Baltimore still has a chance to make the playoffs. I believe they will make the playoffs. I think they're in a good spot, even though they just got to win out. I hope Lamar comes back healthy, and we need Lamar. Yes. It's good. He's one of the good young quarterbacks in the league. We need him. We all want to see him out there and playing. Now to the final Saturday game, the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Now, this game was a good game, as you can see. I think this was the better game out of the 3 games.
Yes.
Obviously, this was the primetime game. The Dolphins already beat the Bills earlier this season in Miami. And when I look at this game, I think the Dolphins are one defense away from being a top team. Miami's offense is ridiculous. Tua's numbers against the Bills have been crazy this year. Shout out to Tua. But the Bills, no. Jeremiah, you go ahead.
Yeah, because when it came to this game, I was just thinking when we won against the Bills earlier that season, and came down to that one possession as well. We won by 2 points. They won by 3 points. And you can't tell me this team cannot meet with each other in the playoffs going in the future.
And that's going to be crazy.
Fireworks. That would be insane because, of course, Josh Allen, he is a great quarterback, especially when it came to making decision making. Even at the last minute, I have a lot of questions about the defense, but still at the same time, Josh Allen took advantage of those situations. Tua in the offense, they played very much better than they did those last 2 games. They played like this is the team that, is going to be reckoned with, especially in the cold weather. And of course, it started raining more when it got to 4 minutes and 5 minutes. And I just want to say for the Dolphins, and do not be rough on Tua at the end of the day, because Miami Dolphins, they treat Tua almost like, I would just make a comparison how they treat like a certain girlfriend or something that you had for the first time in a long time, because we so used to having like a Dan Marino that was so perfect, but we finally have somebody right now that is a good guy, and especially has a great talent inside of him, not like the recent ones that we had before. So instead of just bashing him and everything else, we need to look at the goods. And I know he's going to have his bad days. There's going to be some toxic times, but still at the same time, he is building and learning, because we're gonna get to the other quarterbacks of Sunday's game, but just look at that whole draft class of the 2020 draft. All the quarterbacks are doing great within those first 2 rounds.
I agree, and I'm for Tua, and I know the question was, will this be Tua's final years? Tua has exceeded expectation. He has a coach now that can coach. He has weapons that he can deliver to. He has a lot of weapons. So if the Dolphins are making the playoffs, they're going to be in the playoffs. They just have to shore up their defense 100%. Maybe clean up some play calling on third down, but the Dolphins are going to be there. I don't see them. I do not see this Dolphins team as a slouch. This Dolphins team is going to be competitive, but the defense is the question, and defense wins championships. You have to have a defense that can cover. They have to have a defense that can pressure the quarterback. So that wraps up Saturday's games. Let's get into Sunday's games, which there was more madness going on. So when we look at Sunday's games, now we're going to get into that Patriots game. We're going to get into the Dallas game. So let's go to the next slide. So yes, let's go to the next slide. So we talked about this earlier. The Bengals end up beating the Bucs. They went on a 31-0 unanswered run in the second half. So there's a lot of questions with the Bucs. They could still make the playoffs. They still lead the division, which is crazy. But that was the game. Let's go to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
This game, the Chiefs were kind of scary in this game because they could have lost this game. This was a scary game for the Chiefs against a Texans team that is not as bad as their record shows. They do battle a lot, even though they lose. They lost a lot of close games this year. They could have very much so beat the Cowboys last week. But the Chiefs end up pulling it out. They end up winning the AFC West division. They end up clinching a playoff berth. So we're going to see the Chiefs again in the playoffs.
And just, like when it comes to the Chiefs, this game just proved right here, their defense is very suspect at a lot of different times, because although Mahomes had a good game yesterday, they still were struggling against the Texans to even pull that game out. And you can tell, you've seen what the Cincinnati Bengals did to their defense, and now you've seen what the Texans are doing. Something is not going right now.
Yes, and Mike's already jumped ahead. How about the Patriots and Raiders for the stupidest play in history of pro or little league football? Yes, we're going to get into that. I have a whole video. We're going to dissect this. So let's go to the next slide. Let's see who else is on the docket today. The Eagles, the red hot Eagles. Now this game, as you can see, the score was also scary for the Eagles, but they end up pulling it out. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC, and they have the best record in all of football right now. They're most likely, if they keep winning, they're probably going to win the NFC, the whole NFC when it comes to getting in that number 1 seed and having home field advantage. The Eagles are the team to beat right now. They have the best record in the NFL. But this game was scary. I mean, the Chicago Bears are better, even though the Packers sweep them every time. But we're not going to get into that. But the biggest test next week is the Cowboys and the Eagles play next week in talks for that NFC East division. But I think the Eagles going to get that one. Jeremiah, what is your thought?
I think the Eagles are going to get that one too, only because they heard everything what Michael Parsons said before with those words. And not to mention, they almost lost this game, but this was just a tiny bump. They are motivated now to play the Cowboys this next week. And for the Cowboys, you got to come off after having that. It was a bad loss, letting Jacksonville come back and then creep up on you like that. But, the Eagles, they are going to be skyrocketing next week.
I agree. Let's get to those next slides. I believe there's the videos next. So, what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the Cowboys? Well, let's save the Cowboys for later. Let's talk about the Patriots.
Let's talk about Patriots.
Let's run this video clip, Remy. Let's.
Mac Hollins out on defense. He's all the way back. Stevenson.
Is anyone going to?
Inside the 30, flips it back. Stanford band nowhere in sight. It's picked off. Oh no! Unbelievable! Oh wow! Incredible! Chandler Jones takes it in.
What in heavens was Stanford doing
to that game? I mean, when we look at this game, I want to know what happened. All the Patriots had to do was go into overtime. What are you doing this for? Why are you doing a lateral pass when you're not down in the game? It's tied. Simply take a knee and go into overtime and live another game. Jeremiah, what is your thoughts on that game?
I mean, to just sum it up, it's just straight stupidity, and not just only on the players, but on Bill Belichick. How do you let that happen? Now, I understand if you're gonna do just a Hail Mary to just go for it one last time, that is totally different. They are all the way back there. But you were telling your guys to keep lateraling back, and then one of your guys, I don't know, the Stanfield, like he threw the ball all the way just up in the air. Like, what were you thinking of? And then Mac Jones, not even in tackling position, he is just getting rammed over. It's just a straight disaster, and that just sums up the Patriots season.
That does sum up the Patriots season right now. Coach Belichick, that's not good. That's not a good look, man. Just go into the overtime and just live another day. I don't know why they tried that. If you ran the ball the way they did and just get out of bounds, okay. But the lateral pass was not needed unless it was you're down a touchdown and you have the ball and you're just trying to get something done. But you're tied in the game. Simply take a knee or just run the clock out to go into overtime. Now, the final video, the final topic of today, and you guys know I'm so happy about this. Yes. The Cowboys, they lose to Jacksonville in overtime because Dak threw a pick six. Let's run that video.
3rd and 4, blitz coming. Prescott throws backwards and intercepted. Jenkins has another one. Racing down the sidelines. Rayshard Jenkins is going to win it.
The Cowboys, they just do cowboy things, don't they? I mean, they just constantly, and I see Mike's laughing, the Cowboys constantly do cowboy things. I mean, I hear all season, oh, the Cowboys look good. The Cowboys are going to be that team. Watch out for the Cowboys, a historically great defense. What happened? 40 points? 40 points? Cowboys, what's going on? Jeremiah, what happened?
Yes, I think when it came to the Cowboys, this is just their kryptonite, being up. They can never keep a certain lead whenever it's on the line. You saw when it came to the Houston game last week, they struggled to even just get out of that game. If it wasn't for Houston being, careless and not, just going for the points at the end, they would have probably lost that game last week and then lost today's game. But Jacksonville, I've got to give them credit too, because Trevor Lawrence, he fought in that game. He showed his resilience.
He's coming on.
And he did incredible. But for Dak to be having those interceptions, he leads the league in interceptions with 10 these last, I would say, last 7 games. He had 10 interceptions. How do you let that happen? How do you let that happen?
The Cowboys are about to be a first-round exit. I'm calling it now. Remember that here. Remember, Remy, if we have to run it back, remember this. The Cowboys are going to be a first-round exit. I'm calling it now. The Cowboys, I mean, every year they always say, oh, the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. Okay, first-round exit.
First-round exit with an interception from Dak.
Be prepared, Cowboy fans. Just be prepared. Just be prepared. It's okay. So that wraps up First Impression Sports Talk. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Remy. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for constantly being involved, constantly giving your support. And let's watch my Green Bay Packers and the Rams tonight. So hopefully we get a W. We still have a miraculous chance of making the playoffs. I don't think we're going to make it. But I just feel like this is just good. I'm glad that we're home. We're playing a Rams team. Let's just get the W and just, win out the rest of the season. But that wraps up Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. See you guys next week. Bye.